You're watching the free version of Silhouette Essentials. For projects and footage, head to BorisFX.com for the premium download.
Now we're in the session where we'll complete the work for the forehead and the chin. I'm going to zoom in here and we'll take a look at both areas. So I'm going to start with the forehead. When I look at the forehead, I want to remove some of the wrinkles, maybe not every single wrinkle, but definitely smooth them out a lot. But I can see there's a lot of micro movement in the forehead. There's movement, there's rotating, and even between the eyes and the forehead up here, there's even more movement. So I have to figure out if I'm going to use what kind of tracking, either point tracking, probably not. I could use a Mocha tracker, but I feel like the best solution would be the PowerMesh tracker. And I've also done some experimenting. So the PowerMesh tracker would maybe capture some of this movement that's right in the middle. Whereas the Mocha tracker is good for kind of overall, like all the sides, like the outline, it would move correctly, rotating, scaling, but it might not capture the movement that's inside here. So we can give that a try. And then when I look at the chin, it's kind of the same thing. There's a lot of organic movement going on here. As far as maybe I could capture some of this outside data with the Mocha tracker. If I really wanted more detail with what's going on in the middle of the chin, I'd probably want to use the PowerMesh tracker as well. Okay, so let's start with the forehead. So when I look at the forehead, I know I'm going to have to do tracking and a clean plate. So I'm going to have to find the frame that I want to use for my clean plate. And I'm looking for a frame that's kind of straight on at camera and in focus, because that's going to be my clean frame. So I think I chose 110. I'm just going to go up here and check with my completed work. Right, so forehead clean plate was frame 110. Here I've made a paint demo node off to the side, and we'll start painting. I'm going to just change the viewer a little bit, or maybe a lot, so we can really see what's going on here. I'm going to use the clone tool. Make sure that my softness is up 100% and I'm on the frame that I want. And I'm just going to start painting. It's going to be a little rough at first. Just kind of get an idea. I might just undo that, like what's going to work well. Maybe we'll try 50% just to start lightening some of those creases. I'm going to try the dual clone brush. I'm going to click dual and I'm going to make a little stroke here. And then click 2. So now when I paint, I can sort of have some of the skin on either side of the wrinkle. I can just up the opacity here. See if that'll work. Might have to change my offset a little bit. I'm just using a combination of the clone brush and the dual clone brush and the drag tool. Just trying to get most of the wrinkles out. And if I take out too much, I can add some back in. And this is just sort of a rough job, and I'll show you my final next. All right, we'll take a look at the final. And here is the final. So that was just the quick little paint demo there. And this is my final clean plate. And we'll go reset the viewer. So it's hard to see much detail here with how bright the shot is. I'm just going to bring it down a little bit. So here's the original and here's the forehead. So I've left some of the wrinkles in. I haven't cleaned everything out completely. Okay, so now we have our clean plate. I've rendered it out as the forehead clean plate here. And now we need our tracking. So I'm going to go over here to our tree here. And I'm going to just make another Mocha Pro node off to the side. And it got put somewhere. I am not sure. Okay, well, here we go. There it is. All right, we'll hook that up. And we're going to launch Mocha Pro. So here we are inside of Mocha Pro. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Press C. And I'm going to edit our viewer to make it a little bit more contrasty. And zoom in a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to take a look. So when I look at this, I need to make a mat of her hair so that the mesh doesn't get confused by the movement of the hair. So I'll just quickly do that. Go in and make my shape. It's more of a G mat. I'm just going to turn off the outline here. Okay, and I'm just going to track that. I don't think I need to manually keyframe it, so we'll just track it. And then finish it off. Okay, so now we have that done. I'm going to call this hair, FG hair. And I'm going to turn off the cog so it won't track again. And I'm going to go to a frame, the frame where my clean frame is. So that's a 110. And I'm going to make my shape for the mesh. I'm going to start by making it a little bit bigger than I actually want. When I'm tracking, I just want some of that mesh to go on the outside of my shape just a little bit. So I have enough coverage. Turn on perspective and mesh. And if I click generate mesh, you can see it looks like this, but I prefer the uniform for this shot. Generate mesh. And I think I might just go a little bit smaller. Okay, that looks good. I have enough dots. I want to make sure that the mesh is going to catch all the little movements in the forehead. Okay, so this looks good. I'm going to start tracking. But first I need to pull in my shape. That's right. So I'm going to pull my shape in a little bit. I really don't need everything that's out here. And we'll almost get to the bottom here. Don't really need any of the glasses. Okay, so I think that's going to work. If I can't see it, I can just turn the mesh off and make my adjustments here. Okay, that looks good. I'll just turn this back on and I'm going to put my layer under here. I'm going to call it Mesh Demo. And now I can track. Let's make sure that's selected. PowerMesh is subplanar tracking, and it's really good for detecting all those little movements in skin. Okay, we'll go back to the keyframe here and track to the beginning. And each of those little triangles is like its own planar tracker. Okay, let's see how that looks. Zoom in even more. I can press the plus button actually. So I'm going to just turn off the mesh and just show the points. I'm looking to see if the points are kind of staying in the same area of the forehead as it's tracking through. And it looks like they are. It looks pretty good. You can do another check and go to the Stabilize tab here. click Mesh Warp and Unwarp and Normal, and just kind of scrub through here and see that the forehead is pretty well stabilized and tracked. Okay, so we can just bring that back into Silhouette. Go back to the Track tab here, and we'll just save and close. There's one more step I want to do before I take you into my final tree, and that is I need to bring in the Roto node from the Mocha Pro node here. And I'm just going to click on this node here, and I'm going to move this right over here so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to click the 3 dots here and create Roto node. So now I have the node that has the mesh in it and the Roto, and I can use that to help put that in my clean plate into the shot. So now we're just going to go back to how it was set up here, and then we'll take you into my final tree. We'll just look at the Roto node real quick though for what we just did. I'll just zoom in here. So inside this Roto node, I have my shape that was the FG hair shape. I don't need that. Here's the mesh. If I click on that, I can see it. You can actually change the opacity or the color. If you click away, then it's not selected anymore. You have to click on this to see it. You can just kind of see it play through. And here we have the shape that was made for the mesh initially. So here is the final tree for the forehead. Here is the source, which is the hand paint teeth pre-comp, which has all that paint in there. And then here's my clean plate. I'll go to the frame where my clean plate is. And then here is our PowerMesh Warp. You bring this node in and you hook it up below Hold node and your clean frame. And then you hook up your Mocha Pro node to that. So you hook up the data ports together, and that way the PowerMesh can use the data from the Mocha Pro node. So when I'm in the PowerMesh node here, you make sure that you select the mesh that's available. And then I always choose best right off the bat, and you leave that at warp. And then I also check to make sure that my clean frame is lined up to my sequence. So I click on this, and I click on the frame of my clean plate, which is 110, and I make sure it's lined up. If it wasn't lined up, I would have to add a transform node, but it's lined up. And then I bring in the Roto that was from the Mocha Pro node. I have all of that data in here. I don't need the FG hair or the mesh, but I have my forehead track here, and you can see that here's the transform matrix. And here was the shape that I used to make the mesh from, but I decided I didn't want this shape, and I just made a new shape inside this layer. And so that took on the tracking data. And then I gave it a nice feather on the edge. So if I play this through, it tracks really well. And then if we go down to the composite here, this is the final composite. So I'm just going to take this down a little bit. And I feel like it looks really natural. It's captured all the movement of the forehead with the wrinkles, but we just have less wrinkles. I'll just put that back to about where it was. And then next up is the chin.